Hey guys, welcome to Learn Today IGCSE. This is a tutorial video for Physics Paper 2 from May June 2023 Variant 1. This video is going to be a little bit more casual than our usual Paper 4 and 6. Question 1. Which vector diagram correctly shows the force Z as the resultant of forces X and Y? X and Y is like this, so this would be your resultant force. Same goes as this. If you have forces this and like this, then this would be the resultant force. So for X and Y behaving like this would be the resultant force. So the answer is D. Question 2. An object falls towards the surface of the Earth. The object is falling at its terminal velocity. Which statement is correct? Now please remember, at terminal velocity, your acceleration is 0 and your resultant force will also be 0. When an object falls, it experiences weight, which is same as the gravitational field strength, and there will be air resistance acting on the opposite direction. Since this is surface of the Earth, there will be air resistance, and since it's terminal velocity, your acceleration will be 0. So the answer here is B. Please note that there is only no air resistance when the object is in space. Question 3. The graph represents the motion of a vehicle. This is a speed-time graph. They are asking you to calculate the distance traveled in 400 seconds. The distance for a speed-time graph is the area beneath the graph. So this is the area that we're looking for, which is the shape of the triangle. So it will be 1/2 times the base, which is 400, times with the height, which is 20. So this will give us a value of 4,000 meters. Next question D. On the Earth, the spring stretches by 5 cm when a mass of 3 kg is suspended from one end. The gravitational field strength on the Moon is 1/6 of that on the Earth. Which mass on the Moon would stretch the spring by the same extension? For the same stretch, we're going to look at the same weight being applied both on Earth and Moon. So we know that the mass of the object on the Earth is 3 kg and the gravity is 9.8. So that will give us a force of 29.4. With the same force of 29.4, now we're going to have to find the mass on Moon. And we know that the gravity is 9.8/6 on Moon. So the mass here would be 18 kilograms. Question 5. A shopkeeper pours rice into a dish that hangs from a spring balance. He records the reading. The reading here is 2.4 newtons. A customer buys some pasta. The shopkeeper notices that the reading on the spring balance with just pasta in the dish is the same as it was with just rice in the dish. Which quantity must be the same for the rice and for the pasta? So a spring balance will measure its force, so the answer is weight. Question 6. A student determines the density of an irregularly shaped stone. The stone is slowly lowered into a measuring cylinder partly filled with water. Which other apparatus does the student need to calculate the density of the irregularly shaped stone? To calculate density, you're going to require mass and volume. The volume of the stone here can be determined by calculating the change of water level in the measuring cylinder. And for the mass, we will require a balance, so the answer is A. Question 7. A train is traveling horizontally in a straight line. A book is on the table in the train. The diagram shows all the forces acting on the book. How is the train moving? The upward and the downward force here is equal. It means that the book is not moving up or down. However, as you can see here, for the horizontal axis, there's only one force, which is frictional force. This means that if frictional force is acting in this direction, the book is moving backward in this direction. This is a scenario that is happening in the train and you want to find out the movement of the train. If the train was moving at a uniform speed, the book would not have moved backwards. Instead, the book would also move at the same speed of the train. So if the book is moving backwards, this is because the train is traveling faster than the speed of the book. So that means the train is accelerating towards right. So the answer here is B. You can imagine this by if you're in a car. For example, if both the car and you are at rest, and when the car accelerates, your body will be jerked backwards. So the frictional force here, which is acting on this direction, is trying to tell us that the book have actually moved backwards. So for this to happen, it means that your car in this direction forward with an acceleration. Question 8. The diagrams show 4 beams, each of negligible weight and freely pivoted. Which beam is not equilibrium? For the beam to be equilibrium, the clockwise direction and the anti-clockwise direction has to be equal. So to calculate that, we are going to use force times distance equal to force times distance, which you get 6 equals to 6. So this is in equilibrium. After repeating the same steps, you will notice that C is not in equilibrium because the clockwise direction is more than the anti-clockwise direction. Question 9. An object of mass 1.2 kilograms is moving with a velocity of 2 meters per second when it is acted on by a force of 4 newtons. The velocity of the object increases to 5 meters per second in the same direction. For which period of time does the force act on the object? Okay, it mentions here that the velocity has increased. That means that this object is now accelerating. And the formula of acceleration is v minus u over t. We know that the final velocity here is 5 meters per second and the initial velocity is 2. We're looking to find time, and we can do this if we have obtained what is our acceleration. The question has given us mass and force. So we can use the formula force equals to mass times acceleration to obtain our acceleration, which is 3.33 meters per second square. Now we can use this value and substitute it into our acceleration, 3.33. So the time here is 3 over 3.33 meters per second square, giving us 0.9 seconds. So the answer is A. Next, question 10. Which row about the change of energy in the energy store must be correct? Process, water pumped up to a high altitude dam, gravitational potential energy correct, since gravitational potential energy can be calculated by mass, gravity and height. As the height increases, your energy will also increase. So the change of energy store increases is correct. So the answer is A. Question 11. A woman of mass 50 kilograms have 81 joules of kinetic energy. What is her speed? Okay, we will use the formula of kinetic energy here to solve this question. We know that the kinetic energy is 81 joules and the mass given is 50 kilograms. So we're just looking to find the value of V. If we rearrange this, we will get 1.8 meters per second. So the answer is C. Question 12. A child runs up a set of stairs 4 times. The time taken for each run is recorded. Which time is measured when the child's useful power is greatest? Based on your course specification under the subtopic of power, you will see that power is defined as the work done per unit time. So to obtain the greatest power, you need to have the shortest time. The shortest time is 10 seconds, so your answer is A. Question 13. A dam holds water in a reservoir. The height of the water in the reservoir is 15 meters. The density of water is 1000 and what is the pressure due to the water at the bottom of the dam? Okay, to calculate the pressure due to water, we will use the formula H rho G. H here being 15, density is 1000 and the gravity is 9.8. After calculating this, you'll get a value of 147,000, so the answer is D. Question 14. A student uses a microscope to observe a pollen moving on the surface of water. Which statement describes the reason for this movement? So you can check your course specification again under chapter 2.1. You will notice that over here you need to know that microscopic particles may be moved by collision with the light fast moving molecules, and you need to correctly use the term atoms or molecules as distinct from microscopic particles. So if this is the surface of water and this is your pollen, the object being moved here is pollen by the water. So water molecules are moved is wrong, water molecules are moved is wrong. Microscopic pollen particles are moved by water molecules. So your answer should be C. Question 15. Which statements about evaporation of water are correct? Evaporation causes the remaining liquid to cool, yes. During evaporation, the more energetic particles will escape the surface of the liquid, correct. Evaporation only happens at 100 degrees Celsius is wrong because that is boiling. So your answer is B. Question 16. Some hot water is sealed inside a metal can. The can is in a vacuum in outer space. The hot water slowly cools down. How does thermal energy escape into space? The thermal energy from the water will first go through the solid container, and that can happen through conduction. And next, once it reaches over here, it will radiate, and this is called radiation. The answer is B. Convection happens throughout liquid, conduction is throughout solid, and radiation is in air or space. Next, question 17. The diagram shows graphs of displacement against 4 waves. All the graphs are drawn to the same scale. Which wave has the largest amplitude and the highest frequency? So the largest amplitude here will be determined by the height. So the answer is either A or B. And highest frequency meaning that your wavelengths will be as short as possible, and the distance here is quite far. So comparing A to B, A has a higher frequency. Question 18. The diagram shows a ray of light entering a glass block. Which calculation gives the refractive index of the glass? Refractive index can be calculated by sine I over sine R. I here being your incidence angle and R is your refractive angle. Incidence angle and refractive angle will be the angle between the ray and the normal. So this is 40 degree and this is 25 degree. So sine 40 over sine 25. Your answer is A. Pay attention to this type of questions. Don't accidentally take 50 as your answer because this is between the ray and the surface. You should be taking the ray and the normal. Question 19. An object O is placed at point P near to a thin converging lens. The diagram shows 3 rays from the top of O passing through the lens. Each point F is 1 focal length from the center of the lens. Each point 2F is 2 focal lengths from the center of the lens. The object O is moved to the point Q. Which type of image is produced when the object O is at point Q? So this is your first ray and it will go through your focal point here. So this is your second ray. Your third ray will go through the center of the lens over here. So this will be your third ray. And the point where it intercepts is where your image will be formed. So this is your image. The image is inverted and enlarged compared to the first one. So the answer is B. Question 20. Which diagram shows the dispersion of white light by a glass prism? For dispersion of white light through a prism, please remember the orders of the colors from red to violet. When the white light enters the prism, it will be dispersed throughout with all the colors. So A is wrong, B is correct. The top one would be red, and then it bends more for violet. And then you've got red and violet. So the answer is B. D is wrong because violet travels in a straight line when it should be refracted. And C is wrong because instead of bending over here, it goes this direction. So it's wrong. Question 21. Visible light has wavelengths in the range of 4 times 10 to the power of negative 7 meters to 7 to the power of negative 7 meters. What is the range of the frequencies of visible light? We know that the speed of light is equal to frequency times wavelength. We're looking to find frequencies, so that would be velocity over lambda. Your velocity is speed of light 3 times 10 to the power of 8. We have the first value here, which is 4.0 times 10 to the power of negative 7. And we're going to repeat the same for the different wavelength of 7 to the power of negative 7. So these are the range and values that you would get. So the answer is D, 4.3 to the power of 14 and 7.5 to the power of 14. Sorry, this should be 14. Question 22. Student X fires a starting pistol which produces smoke and sound. Student Y is standing 100 meters away and sees the smoke the instant it is produced. The speed of sound is 340 meters per second. What is the time delay between student Y seeing the smoke and hearing the sound? Okay, to answer this question of time delay, I'm just going to do it by unit conversions. We know that the speed of sound is 340 meters per second, but the distance here is only 100 meters. So to cancel out the meters, I am going to do 1 over 100 meters. When I cancel them out, I am left with 3.41 over second. And to find only seconds, because I'm looking for time and the unit is seconds, I would inverse this 1 over 3.4 seconds, and the value of time, which is in seconds, would be 0.29. So the answer is A. Question 23. An unmagnetized piece of soft iron is placed close to a strong permanent magnet as shown. Soft iron can be easily magnetized and demagnetized. What is the induced polarity at end of X of the soft iron core, and in which direction does the magnetic force act on the soft iron? Since the iron core is easily magnetized when it is placed close to a magnet, this will now turn into a magnet and get attracted to this permanent magnet, meaning that at X it will be south and over here it will be north. So your answer could be either C or D. Now we're going to look for the direction of force on the soft iron. Well, since it is magnetized, it will be attracted, so the direction is to the left. Answer is C. Question 24. A plastic rod is rubbed with a cloth. The rod and the cloth becomes charged as electrons move between them. The rod becomes negatively charged. Which diagram shows how the rod becomes negatively charged and shows the final charge on the cloth? Initially, they all had equal number of positive and negative electrons. It says that the rod has become negatively charged and only electrons can move between them. This means that the electrons from the cloth has transferred into the rod, and right now the rod has more negative compared to positive, hence the reason why the rod is negatively charged. After the negative electron leaves the cloth is now positively charged. So this is the positive charges of the cloth. The answer is either A or B. As for the electron movement, it goes from the cloth to the rod. So the answer is B. Question 25. A wire has a uniform circular cross-sectional area. Which statement is correct? The resistance of a wire can only be affected by its length and area. It is directly proportional to length and inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. So the answer here is C. Question 26. The diagram shows the current voltage graph for a metal. What can be deduced from the graph? This is a graph of voltage versus current. And remember that the gradient of the graph here is your resistance. And you can see that as the voltage increases, the gradient of the graph is unaffected, meaning that the resistance will always be same, or in another word, constant. So as voltage increases, the resistance of the wire remains constant. Your answer is D. The temperature of the wire usually increases depending on the resistance in the circuit. The higher the resistance, the higher the temperature. Question 27. A battery is connected to a circuit. It is switched on for 1 minute. During that time, there is a current of 4 amperes in the circuit and the battery supply of 48 joules of energy. Which row gives the charge that passes and the electromotive force of the battery? We are looking to find Q and voltage. To find Q, we can use the formula Q equals to IT. After substituting the values, you would get 24 coulombs. Now we need to look a formula to calculate V using the information that we already have. We have the energy. Energy equals to voltage times current times time. So as you can see here, memorizing formula is something very important. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to come up with what formula has to be used in order to solve the question. So we have 48 equal to V 0.4 and the time is 60 seconds. After rearranging it, you will get 2 voltage. So the answer is C. Question 28. The circuit diagram shows 2 identical lamps connected in a parallel to a cell. 3 emitters X, Y, Z are also connected in the circuit as shown. Which statement about the currents in X is correct? So the current flows in this direction. The emitter for this tells you the current for the whole circuit. After it reaches this point, it will split into 2. So assuming that you have 5 amperes here, it will now become 2.5 and 2.5. And then it will flow like this, and over here it will return back to 5 amperes. So the current at X, which is 5 amperes, is equal to the sum of the current of Y and Z. Answer is C. Question 29. A student connects the circuit shown. Which switches must be closed for the bell to ring without lighting the lamp? So this is your lamp and this is the bell. To ensure that the bell rings, we need to complete the circuit for the bell, which is this one, meaning that we have to close switch 1 and switch 3. The answer is B. Question 30. The diagram shows an AC generator. The graph shows the potential difference PD between point X and Y plotted against time. A positive value of PD indicates that X is more positive than Y. So this is the positive value and over here is negative value. Okay, which diagram shows the position of the coil at point P on the graph? In an AC generator, when the coil moves perpendicular to the field, a maximum value of current is induced. So this is maximum. The answer is either A or C. So between A or C is only the arrangement of the circuit, and over here it should be C. Question 31. An electron moves in a uniform magnetic field. The arrow shows the initial direction of motion of the electron. The direction of the magnetic field is into the plane of the page. Remember, when it is into, the symbol is X, and when it is out of the page, the symbol is a dot. In which direction does a force act on the electron when it enters the magnetic field? To answer this, you're going to have to use your left hand Fleming rule. I have made a video on this, but to make it simple, just remember that when magnetic field is acting into the page, your beta particles will act downwards, and your alpha particles will behave in an opposite way where it will go upwards. And likewise, when you have magnetic field going into the page, the beta particles will move upward and the alpha particles will move in the opposite direction downward. So the answer here is moving downward. So it is C, towards the bottom of the page. Question 32. Which statement about a transformer is correct? Option A. There is an alternating current in the iron core from the primary coil to the secondary coil. This is wrong because there will be AC current in the primary coil, not the iron core. An alternating current in the iron core, again wrong. Alternating current will be in the primary coil. An alternating current in the primary coil induces a direct current is wrong. It induces an alternating voltage. And finally, an alternating current in the primary coil induces alternating voltage across the secondary coil. Everything here is correct, so the answer is D. Question 33. How are positive and negative ions formed from atoms? When an atom donates the electron, it becomes positively charged. So a positive ion means that the electron has been donated. And when an atom accepts an electron, it is considered to be a negatively charged. So a negative ion means that it has had an electron. So the answer is C. Question 34. A radioactive source is placed near a detector connected to a counter. 200 counts are recorded by the counter in 3 minutes. The background count rate is 20 counts per minute. What is the corrected count rate for the radioactive source? Okay, you have 200 counts for 3 minutes. And we need to find for 1 minute, which would be 70 counts. And this is what is being detected by the detector, which includes the background radiation. So to find the corrected count rate, we have to remove 20, which is the background radiation, giving us 50 counts per minute. So the answer is A. Question 36. The background count rate measured by a radiation counter is 40 counts per minute. With the counter close to the radioactive source, the counter reading is 960 counts per minute. The half-life is 20 minutes. What is the counter reading after 1 hour later? So remember, your step 1 is always to remove your background radiation. So 960 minus 40 would give us 920 counts per minute. 1 half-life is equals to 20 minutes. And we want to find 1 hour later. 1 hour later meaning that this is 60 minutes. So this tells us that the radiation has gone through 3 half-life. So this is the first 20 minutes, and 20 minutes. A total of 1 hour has reduced to 115 counts per minute. But remember, you have to include your background radiation, which is 40. So the detector will read 115 plus the background, giving you 155 counts per minute. Next, question 37. Which planet in our solar system is nearest to the Sun and what is the nature of the planet? In our solar system, we have 8 planets. And remember that the first 4 planets are rocky and the last 4 planets are gases. The nearest planet is Mercury and the nature is rocky. So your answer is A. 38. A space station orbits the Earth at a distance of 7,000 km from the Earth's center. It makes 15 orbits every 24-hour period. What is the speed of the space station in its orbit? So it says that it takes 24 hours to complete 15 orbits. They want us to calculate the speed. You have to know your formula for this, which is V equals to 2 pi r over t. We know that the radius is 7,000 kilometers, so I will put 7,000 kilometers here. And the time given here is 15 orbits for 24 hours. However, to calculate the speed, we need to find out how many hours does it take to complete only one orbit. So to do this, we can calculate 24 hours divided by 15 orbits, giving us the value for one orbit, which is 1.6 hours. So the time here would be 1.6 hours. And you will get a value of 27,488, which is D. Question 29. Which nuclear reaction powers a stable star? The type of nuclear reaction that takes place in a star at a very high temperature is nuclear fusion. And nuclear fusion is when you have 2 hydrogen atoms fused together to form a helium. So the answer is donkey. The last question, 40. Which stages in the life cycle of a star are listed in the order that they occur? So you would see that an interstellar dust cloud, which is your nebula, will then move into protostar and then become a stable star. So this should be the other way around. Next, you have got a protostar turning into a red giant and then becoming a stable star. So again, this should be the other way around. Next, you have got red giant becoming a white dwarf and then a protostar. So this is wrong. And lastly, you have got a stable star becoming red giant and becoming a white dwarf. So the answer is D. Alright, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I will try my best to upload paper 2-3 from May June 2023 for the next video. Thank you. Bye.